As a boy, Tim Golwi was a nationally ranked tennis player in his division and later captained his Harvard University team. His seminal book, The Inner Game of Tennis, created a revolutionary way of learning that can be applied to all fields of sports. Many regard Tim's work as having paved the foundation of sports psychology. Tim teaches players of all levels how to conquer the inner game first, the one that goes on in the mind and is often the stumbling block to success. Critics have hailed Tim's inner game techniques as some of the most highly regarded and proven self-help tools ever created.
The inner game is a game that takes place in your head and in your heart. It's all the internal obstacles that take place within a person and your trust in your own potential. So it's overcoming fear, doubt, lapses in concentration, and accessing your potential to perform in any given arena. The first time I consciously knew there was something like an inner game was back in the early 70s when I was on sabbatical and teaching tennis. And I was teaching traditional tennis, where you tell your student what they should do, what they shouldn't be doing. You give them a lot of instructions. And it occurred to me that I was more committed to teaching and getting my instructions exactly right than I was about learning itself, my student learning. And so I put myself in my place of my student. And I said, what's it like for the student when the ball's coming toward him? What's he actually thinking about? And the answer was very surprising to me. It shouldn't have been. But it was, his head is filled with my instructions, all the do's and don'ts, all the shoulds and shouldn'ts. And he's trying hard to do the shoulds. He's trying hard not to do the shouldn'ts. And that actually tightens his muscles and creates stress. And then he's self-criticizing himself when he doesn't get the results he wants or when he doesn't do the should exactly right. When you ask athletes what their state of mind is at their best performance, they say, my mind is calm. I'm not thinking. My attention is focused. So I realized, wow, because of the way I'm teaching and everybody else is teaching, we're putting people in really a stressed state of mind, which is not conducive to optimal performance. I think the greatest surprise to me was the applications people made of the inner game without me even knowing it, without even being in touch with me. They'd read the book and they'd apply it to something important to them. I was greatly surprised when I heard that Pete Carroll, of the head football coach for USC Trojans, was using it as his basic philosophy for coaching his team. And then he called me one day and said, yes, I've been doing this, and I'd like to check with you to see if it really is the inner game. And I was just delighted by the way he had taken those principles and applied them to football, which was very different than tennis or golf or music. And another surprise was a student of Isaac Perlman asked this great violinist what was the greatest book on violin ever written. And he thought for a while and said, that's a hard question. He said, I guess it would have to be The Inner Game of Tennis. And she was, of course, very shocked. But all this happening without me knowing it. And I think the inner game is something people know a lot more than we talk about. It's just that the culture doesn't allow us to talk about our inner lives so much. And when it becomes a matter of conversation, we can learn from each other and proceed in it in a much more whole and healthy way.